Gary's participation in the harvest season decamped with the wheat bedded in the silos, another resolution completed, the full complement of the John Deere service personnel once again able to perform autonomously, no longer a paid subscriber to the needs of the custom harvesters. The service department staff having been enlarged with the inauguration of the new assembly shop, continuing with Larry Foster as service manager, Jim Pulliam, Denny Callison, Keith Hoffman, all mainstay diesel practitioners, and an addition of Billy Duvall and Ron Zantier. The fall season having arrived upon the kindred land, the stubble of consequence remaining, but finding its earthen substance orbited by 8, 12, and 16 bottom plows. The tilling of the soil, a prerequisite before commencing the winter wheat drilling process. The insertion of the seed with the tractor-pulled seed drilling implement. Gary always amazed at the wheat-adorned landscape during the winter months. The frontal winds venturing down from the north, displaying a biting chill, casting a cold infraction. Within the domain of the city limits, the lawns of Bermuda grass laid brown and dormant, but the bounding fields of winter wheat were nor, giving notice to all. The seedlings arising painting the winter landscape with a blanket of green, a prerequisite sign, spring would prevail again. Gary turning the key to the entrance of the service company at 7 a.m., opening the store 5 days a week, alternating Saturdays with Jerry Whitney. On arrival, a normal day would find farmers seated in pickups waiting. But this morning was different. Steve Miller and brother John, who normally didn't come in until later, were already there. Steve taking Gary aside, promulgating that a sign be placed on the door, that they would be closed until 8:30 this morning. Gary's curiosity being aroused, ventured a questioning expression, Steve prescribing that they were having a company meeting. At 8, everyone assembled in the Service Bay area, the group standing in silence. Steve Miller beginning his dissertation addressing the gathering about customer service, and their responsibility as representatives of the company when dealing with the public. Moving on, he addressed the shop personnel about adhering to the prescribed flat rate time, especially when servicing the sales department's combines, tractors, and implements. Continuing, he said he was well aware of the extended break time that many took. He realized that the mechanics couldn't just stop in the middle of a project to take a break, but reminded them there were only 2 break periods, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and although he hadn't yet, he wasn't above having them clock out for their breaks. In conclusion, addressing everyone, his voice raising, spewing that he had noticed the tendency of workers standing about while on the clock with a soft drink in one hand, then sternly reprimanding all with a statement, "I can't recall hiring any one-handed employees." The meeting adjourned, the employees giving witness to Steve Miller's appropriately stated petition. It was hard to believe, Gary first hearing about it from John Miller. Parts manager Jerry Whitney had resigned. Gary was perplexed, finding it totally unbelievable, but accepting the reality of the unexpected event. Several days later, Steve Miller convoking Gary to his office, and as was his habit, probing for conviction, questioning and asking the employee to give a self-appraisal in fulfilling the position vacated by Jerry. Gary was realistic, not altogether surprised at being thrust into the management position, given the fact that harvest was fast approaching, and it would be difficult finding a more experienced person. Donning his best stature of self-assurance, he expressed his confidence, making the parts department ready for the upcoming harvest season. Steve suggesting that if he had any questions, he might visit with Larry Foster, the service manager, about the inventory for harvest. With the new position came an increase in salary, and new awareness of the parts manager's responsibility. Soon after Jerry's departure, Parts Department Clerk Barbara was leaving, Gary having hired Kathy Rathgeber to replace her. Kathy, having originally worked for Larry Foster in the service department, desiring a change, and was already skilled at pricing service work orders and cataloging for inventory control. Another new person coming aboard was Craig Braden, a very personable, good-natured addition, who would work well up front in customer service. Gary remained addressing the shop service window, having to be exact in acquainting their needs. A mistake for service call parts would find the person returning, and conveying a barrage of expletive deleted. A mistake was a disservice to them, and the customer, costing both the flat rate scaled mechanic, and downtime to the customer. Gary, when first employed, had experienced the tribulation working the front counter, not knowing a plowshare from a drill boot, giving Braden assurance, if he needed assistance he was always available. In essence, Gary having discovered, the acquisition of knowledge in itself is more than a learning experience, it's an act of certitude.